Don't Look Under Your Bed came out in 1999 and at the time was only the second PG-TV rated Disney Channel original movie. Why is that, you may ask? Well, most of the Disney Channel original movies, they're pretty lighthearted, pretty goofy, even the ones that kind of delve into the supernatural. But Don't Look Under Your Bed, by a lot of parents at the time who complained, was considered to be a little bit too scary for kids. So much so that it was pulled from TV after being aired a handful of times. And even I have to admit, at the time, I remember seeing commercials for it when I was a kid, and well, I have to say, seeing this creepy mofo crawl towards the screen as a kid, kind of frightening for me. So looking back at it now, is it really a scary movie, you may ask? Or is it just a silly, stupid kids film? Well, lucky for you, I've been outcasted by most of society and everyone that I've known and loved has pretty much abandoned me and moved on with their lives. So needless to say, I'm bored and have a lot of time on my hands. This is Don't Look Under Your Bed. The movie opens with this girl asleep in her room having Mario Kart flashbacks. I can only assume the way that she's swerving. When suddenly, what seems like I can only say the ghost of Prince shows up and sets all the alarm clocks in the house forward all the way to 7 a.m. So this causes everyone in the family to get up and look around thinking it's actually time to get ready for school and for work. Even though it's clearly nighttime outside, they even point this out. They look out, it's pitch black. But really, this is just an excuse for us to meet the family. You see, the girl that was asleep, her name is Frances Bacon. And yes, they point out that it's weird that her middle name is Bacon, but do they explain why her middle name is Bacon? Was she named after Kevin? Who knows? The point is, you see that she's the middle child and she has two brothers, one who is a little kid who just recently recovered from leukemia. I guess we're going serious in this Disney Channel original movie. And one who's an older brother who's almost a senior in high school, I guess, but honestly, he's a bit intense.
No one's blaming you, Francis.
I'm the one they always blame for everything.
That's because you have so much pent-up aggression.
I do not!
I do!
I'm not going to say anything, but I feel like you're probably going to see this kid on the news sometime soon. Anyway, they eventually find out that, hey, it's actually 4 a.m. and they try to go back to bed. And instead we're switched over to the ghost of Prince now cutting open a bag of doggy treats. You don't know why until the next morning, where you see Frances and pretty much the only black girl in town. And I mean that. You do not see any other black girls. You see maybe like two black guys and one of them's imaginary. So I don't know what that says about this town.
Excuse me, do you know how to get to town?
Yeah, it's back the way you came.
But on their way to school, they see that all the dogs in the neighborhood are just chilling on these roofs. And what's their response to this? How do they react?
Now that's weird.
They just brush it off. She just says, oh, there just must be a logical explanation to this. And that's pretty much Frances's thing throughout the movie. She sees something that seems pretty unlikely to impossible, and she just brushes it off as, well, there's a logical explanation.
Maybe it was some kind of magnetic disturbance. You know, like a power surge?
Why would that make dogs get on the roof?
Oh boy, we got an edgy atheist on our hands, don't we? Next thing you know, you're gonna see her tipping the fedora and everything. I don't know. But that's not the only weird response you ever see Frances have. While her and her friend are walking, they eventually see this black guy who's just chilling on this rock, just giving them the most thirstiest of looks. Like, look at how he's leaning and smiling. Like, this man's on the hunt. And she just kind of looks flattered. Like, I'm not a girl, but that wouldn't be my reaction. Especially with the lack of black people in this town. Seeing this should, you know, probably raise some suspicion.
Any of you all know what a sundown town is?
Why is that guy staring at us?
What guy?
Oh, bless this girl's heart. Like, you just had to say one line. It's a simple line. What guy? That's it. But But what was that?
What guy?
It was like she was trying so hard to act that something broke on the inside. And you can see the exact moment it broke. Right after she said that line, you see her eyes start flickering like it's a hummingbird or something. Anyway, the point is the friend can't see the black guy that was there, and now he's just mysteriously disappeared. A little time later, you hear the ghost of Prince suddenly laughing as eggs just rain down from the sky, splattering all across this teacher's car. And he's really into it too. He's just maniacal laughing like he's Mandark or something. Anyway, this turns out this was Francis' teacher's car. And he comes out and, he's unhappy. And everyone's just laughing at him except Francis. So, of course, that means the first person he's gonna be suspicious of is Francis.
Do you know anything about this, Francis?
Why her? She's like literally the only one that looks distraught. You could have picked from this entire crowd of laughing, chuckling mofos who are just pointing and laughing, calling you a little sissy. But no, the quiet, very distraught white girl, that's the suspicious one. She's very sus. Man, it must suck to play around with Among Us with this guy. Anyway, after school, we see Francis walking home and that black guy shows up again, but this time he's rocking sunglasses and a pimp jacket while stroking a dog. This is suddenly getting way darker than I thought. Not because it's creepy, but because this is concerning. I mean, you could just say that he's admiring her from afar, but the pimp jacket, I don't know. He might be trying to turn the chick out. I'm just putting it out there. But Francis eventually sees him crossing the street. And again, she seems flattered by the fact that this guy is obviously stalking her, completely unthreatened. I mean, look how he's walking towards her. Does that look like someone that you want to be associated with? Anyway, he just does a Batman disappearance again, and she just moves on with her day. And this leads into her narrating over a montage of all these strange occurrences happening throughout the town. The first we see is the swim team practicing, where someone dives into the pool, and the second that she dives into the pool, it suddenly all turns to jello. And I guess this is meant to be funny, but then the thought occurred to me, that girl's suffocating to death. Like, she's stuck in that's the worst place you can get stuck in head first. You have no leverage to swim around to get loose. You're just stuck there. And it's in the middle of the pool, and so no one can reach you.
Grab onto this!
Grab it with what? Her feet? Also, while Francis is doing this monologue, she gives these awkward pauses right before she says what's happening.
A colony of bees colonized the principal's office. School buses developed unexplained leaks.
And I guess it's meant to be dramatic, like she's suddenly revealing it as it's happening. But really, it just sounds like she's stopping for a breath.
School buses developed unexplained leaks.
It all ends with her pointing out that someone's been spray painting the letter B on a whole bunch of stuff, even the soles of people's shoes somehow, and they just don't seem to care. Well, I guess the Bloods are moving in. See, this is what happens when you let one too many black folk into your all-white town. They just mess everything up for everyone. Crips for life, son. They also show the teacher go home and his car is still egged. I don't know if it will be implied that it got egged again, or he still has just not washed his car since it initially got egged. Either way, he's an idiot. That's all it shows. We see Frances at home with her parents, where they find out that they're missing a bunch of jello and eggs. And almost immediately, they go to the conclusion that it could be Frances, even though nothing throughout this movie so far would indicate she would have that kind of attitude. And here's the thing. Are you trying to suggest that they had enough jello to turn an entire high school pool? Like, I know this movie is already, ridiculous and is dealing with supernatural stuff, but these people talk about logic all the time, and that's the least logical thing I would ever think, is to suggest that your daughter took the jello mix out of your cabinet and turned a whole pool into jello. There's not enough jello mix and eggs in the world to do that. Okay, there probably is, but not in one white suburban house. Everyone in high school even starts suspecting her, and everyone's locker has been painted with the letter B except hers. which yeah is odd, but I don't know why I would think she did it. They suggest it's her because her middle name is Bacon, so maybe it's like her leaving her mark, which makes no sense. Why would you be spraying B for bacon all loud and proud? But then it's revealed that she has a B spray painted on the inside of her locker, but somehow that's even more incriminating to everyone else. Like what, because it's on the inside and only she can get on the inside? They could have just broken into her locker. The public education system, man, is just not what it used to be, man. Frances once again sees the guy in the cafeteria, and this time she actually was able to confront him. He reveals that his name is Larry Houdini and that he's not actually a person. He's an imaginary friend. Of course she doesn't believe him, but the first question she asks him after he says all this ridiculous stuff isn't, you know, hey, who are you actually, you're lying or anything like that. She's just still wondering if they can hook up.
Cute, but I do not have an imaginary friend.
Did I say I was your imaginary friend? I don't think so, Miss Francis.
Well, if you're not my friend, then why are you following me around?
Like, look at her face. She has straight up doomy eyes all the time. I mean, I thought Larry was like the predator here trying to turn her out, but Francis, girl, calm down. And now that we actually get to meet Larry, he is really annoying. Like, I get he's supposed to be an imaginary friend, he's supposed to be fun, goofy, and childlike, but they express that by him doing all these annoying accents and acting like he's on Ritalin. You have to sit through more than an hour of that. Just remember what I did for y'all. And Frances is so just ignorant, she still can't realize that no one can see him. He straight up is doing all this crazy stuff and no one was responding, but she just can't accept no one can see him. But this also brings up, what are the rules for imaginary friends? Because Larry says that he's not a person, he's not real technically. But throughout the movie, you see him being able to do all this stuff that affects the real world. Like at first you think maybe this is just Francis imagining him doing these things, but then other people will come in and they'll see the aftermath of the things that Larry has done. So does that mean Larry can just really do anything he wants even though he's not technically real? Like if they can affect the physical world, does that mean like they can kill people? Like if some like child warlord somewhere wanted to take out some political leaders and he just was really lonely, I guess, he could conjure up an imaginary friend and just like, hey, I need someone who is very sneaky and is bloodthirsty and can kill people in the middle of the night. They would just be a trove of political leaders being found in their beds with their throats slit with no points of entry. Like, we could weaponize these guys if we wanted to. Like, how would we not discovered this? Another thing you kind of learn about Larry is he's kind of problematic when it comes to children. Because he's an imaginary friend, so of course only children can see him other than Francis. And the reason I say he's problematic is while we do have that context, I feel like it might send a message to the younger audience, which this was intended for at the time, in which they might think it's okay if a stranger shows up wearing wacky outfits and have demonic powers and just starts tickling you and disrespecting authority and, you know, you grabbing on his belt. I'm just saying. Bit concerning. Larry eventually reveals that he's actually Francis's younger brother's imaginary friend, but he hasn't been around lately because her brother just stopped believing in him. He doesn't know why until Francis tells him, well, because she told him not to believe, saying that he needs to grow up. And of course, Larry takes it well.
You did it. Let us pray the pimp's prayer. Guide my pimp hand and make it strong, Lord, so that she might learn our hole's place.
She revealed that she did it because she was attempting to help her brother get through all his cancer treatments, believing that the best way to get through it was to help him grow up. But it's here that it's kind of implied that really it's because she was feeling guilty about not being able to donate her bone marrow to him, because apparently he needed a transplant, but she wasn't, you know, a match for him, only the older brother was, so she wasn't able to do it. But it's revealed later on that even though she wasn't able to do it anyway, she was actually quite relieved because she was scared to go through the process. And because of that fear, she felt like she needed to grow up to get over that fear, and she thought by doing the same for her brother, it would help. Because yes, telling a young dying boy that his imaginary friend and everything he's known and loved is just not real that helps. That flawed logic aside, I mean, the scene is actually quite emotional and the actors do a pretty good job. Unfortunately, Larry is still being annoying as crap. Like, he just can't help himself but to do a pun on the way out of this very serious scene.
You wanted to help him? Then why didn't you give him some of your bone marrow, huh?
I wanted to help him, and the doctor said Burr was the only one who could do it.
I bet that was a relief.
No, I wanted to do it.
Safe!
Larry!
Wow, so clever. That was totally worth just taking away all the seriousness of this scene you've built up. You know, talking about leukemia and fear and all that stuff. You know, let's throw it all away for a dumb umpire joke. Later at night, Francis and Larry hear someone on the roof, which is the ghost of Prince, which was revealed earlier is actually a boogeyman who's been causing all these pranks around town, purposely trying to frame Francis. They just don't know why. So what prank is the boogeyman doing now? Well, he's putting up Christmas lights. I mean, I guess that is horrible. I mean, we haven't got through, Thanksgiving yet. Put up freaking Christmas lights. But this is all just to, set up the fact that this house still has power while he shuts down all the power in the rest of the town, making it even look more like it's on Francis. Anyway, the next day, Larry shows Francis this device he's made, which is meant to take down boogeymen. It ages things at a rapid rate, and he demonstrates this by hooking it up to a carton of milk, which then explodes and looks all spoiled because it's now 2 months older, which makes Francis leave to go take a shower. And it's at this moment that we see Larry looks at his hands and he sees that he's actually growing bigger fingernails, showing that he himself is now turning into a boogeyman. But the next time we see him, he's just chilling in the bathroom as Francis has just finished taking a shower.
How long have you been in there?
I was just thinking.
That's the only question you're gonna ask him? That you just gonna let it go? Like, I get he's imaginary, but he still at least looks like a dude. It's still creepy, the idea that, he was ogling you in the shower, right? We're not just gonna let this go, right? Again, kids, if you find a creepy man in your shower, but he's wearing a funny thing and he says he's an imaginary friend, it's okay. It's innocent for him being there, And, if he has a fur coat on and he offers you a job, again, there's nothing wrong. Then after a dinner gone wrong, we also find Larry making this thing called boogie goo. It apparently attracts boogeymen, and they're gonna use it to try to lure him out and trap him. But unfortunately, Francis's little brother steps on a little piece of it, which lures the boogeyman out towards him, in which he kidnaps her. And on top of that, Larry has now become more of a boogeyman, actually being attracted to the goo himself. And it's revealed here that how boogeymen are made is when imaginary friends lose their kid before the kid is ready to move on. So because Francis made her brother stop believing in imaginary friends too early, now Larry is becoming a monster. I mean, more of a monster than, pimping out white girls and fondling little kids. Tomato, tomato. Larry explains that the boogeyman must have taken the little brother to the boogie world, which is the world that resides under Francis's bed where the boogeyman lives. But this is the line in which Francis says, okay, this is too ridiculous. I don't believe any of this.
Boogie world? No.
Yes.
Now you have gone too far.
You've seen this man jump out of TVs and mirrors and do all sorts of demonic crap. But the boogie world? Nah, too far, man. So they end up going to the boogie world, which is actually pretty creatively designed. It's full of different toys and objects that I guess someone would lose under their bed. And the transition into the boogie world is really cool. You see her crawling under the bed, and then suddenly she's just hanging off a ledge. That is kind of creepy and scary, I have to admit. Anyway, Larry brings the boogeyman killing device with him, but he has to keep it plugged into the real world too. So he has this absurdly long extension cord. They eventually catch up to where the brother and the boogeyman are, but they just so happen to reach the end of the cord. So it gets unplugged and is now unusable. So Francis has to save Larry by throwing a book onto the boogeyman. I mean, I don't think she knew that wouldn't kill him. So she just straight up tried to murder him. I mean, sure, yeah, he's a monster. But I don't know. There's just something funny about it. Unfortunately, Larry has fully turned into a boogeyman at this point, and he's just fully evil on the other boogeyman side. He captures Francis, and then the other boogeyman shows up, and I guess he's upgrading from just doing some, I guess, relatively harmless pranks to full-on murder now. He drags the little brother over to the edge, and he plans on throwing him off. Again, what are the extent of these imaginary folk? If they can just take you and murder you, what's stopping like a whole bunch of secret assassinations? Again, we need to figure out how to weaponize this. This is groundbreaking. This is groundbreaking. So to bring Larry back, Francis tells her little brother that she needs to believe in Larry again. And to do that, he needs to start clapping his hands like he's Tinkerbell, I guess, to revive him. And the boogeyman is trying to stop him. Like, he's struggling to keep him still. But he's giving like half the effort. Like, he just is like, I can't stop this little kid from clapping. I mean, I'm no expert about, stuff like that, but there's really only one clear thing to do here.
Larry! I need you! Help me, please! Larry!
That's it, Darwin!
Larry!
I told him stop. But no, it works, and Larry comes back and he starts fighting off the boogeyman, apparently using the power of Hip Hop Aikido from Power Rangers.
You know, I think I'm gonna be staying alive because you can't catch up with this job. And what?
And also apparently the power of stereotype. So they eventually get the device to work and they put it on the boogeyman, but it doesn't work. But it does reveal something to Francis that she's been kind of denying herself. It turns out this boogeyman the entire time has actually been Francis's long lost imaginary friend named Zoe. Because apparently back when, the little brother got sick, when she decided she needed to grow up, part of that was she decided that she doesn't need an imaginary friend. So she let Zoe go too soon, and so she became a boogeyman. I don't know why she popped up years later, but okay.
It was hard for me to admit it was you. I didn't want it to be my fault.
Really? So we went through all this just because you didn't want to admit to yourself that any of this was your fault. All this could have been solved if you just said, maybe my boogeyman was actually my imaginary friend. Really? Everyone returns to the real world and Francis's parents show up and they give the bestest, most convenient news ever.
Honey, we came upstairs to apologize. Your father just logged on to the internet news.
The same things that were going on here just started happening last night in Centerville.
So now they just suddenly no longer suspect her.
I'm glad I can believe in you again.
I believe in you too, Francis.
Yes, honey. We all do.
Y'all were ready to burn this girl at the stake just for the slimmest amount of possible evidence. And now you just want to pretend everything's honky-dory. Yeah, no, screw you, Mom and Dad. See, I'm gonna head out with my boy Larry over here. He said he trusts me, that he loves me, that he's gonna take care of me. He even said he's gonna put me to work. Not exactly sure what that means, but hey, I've been looking for a job. Anyway, Larry says that the voice inside his head says that there's actually a boogeyman in the next town causing all that chaos, that him and Zoe are gonna go and take care of him. Like, I guess they're boogeyman busters now. That's just what he's gonna do. Maybe they were planning on sequels, I don't know. They never happened. But unfortunately, he also reveals that this will be the last time she will ever see them, which is kind of scummy, right? Like, it's different when you're a little kid and you let your imaginary friend go. But she's a teenager. She's never going to forget this. She's probably going to carry this psychological damage from everything that just happened throughout the rest of her life. She will be shunned by society, claiming that imaginary friends exist. Her little brother is probably going to need counseling. But don't worry, Larry knows the best solution to help Francis get over all this. He just has to show her that she's too horny to have imaginary friends now. Wow, what they say is true. once you go black, you truly do not go back. Now, in the context of the film, this is very weird. Like, I joked about Francis and Larry being kind of, you know, creepy for each other, but the movie really never indicates that's, you know, they actually have that kind of relationship. They're just kind of like, you know, an odd duo. The film and the director explained that this is kind of meant to show Frances that maybe she is ready to move on from that part of her life in a more healthy way, I guess. I guess an imaginary friend kissing you is a healthy way of doing it, I don't know. But the story behind this scene is actually way more interesting than the message of it, because apparently this scene was all written out before any of the casting happened, of course. But not too long after the actor who plays Larry was casted, the director was confronted by some of the, you know, higher ups, I guess, with some concerns. That being, they weren't sure how the director puts it, some of their southern constituents would take the image of a black man kissing a white girl. You know, all the teeth and the scales and all that other horrific stuff, yeah, that's fine for the kids. But a black man, you know, making mouth-to-mouth contact with a white girl, now that's just scary. But the director stuck to his guns. He fought for this scene. Disney agreed that it was okay. And, you know, it went forward, as you can see. How about that? Don't Look Under Your Bed became an arbiter for interracial acceptance. Who would have known? Anyway, the two imaginary friends give their kids one last creepy look and the credits roll. Now, that was Don't Look Under Your Bed. Was it scary? No, it was actually just more stupid to scary. The characters make a lot of decisions that don't make sense. The main imaginary friend, Larry, is quite annoying. And the main message of the film about, you know, growing up and being brave, while it's, you know, well intended, kind of gets some, you know, mixed messages there every once in a while. But besides that, it's not a bad film. It's more or less harmless. And even though I've been pretty much trashing on this movie, I do have some nostalgic feelings for it. It's very creative. A lot of the production for the time was very good. And I do have to give props for the director for sticking to his guns and holding on to the ending that he wanted. But that's been my review, guys. I'm thinking about maybe doing some more kind of Halloween themed films throughout this month if I have time. Leave some suggestions of some films that maybe you would like me to talk about. Like, subscribe, share, and until next time, take care.